Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. I'm back on the grid. Feels good to be back on the grid. Planning the crab cake tour, working on the August thing, trying to get used to these cicadas flying all over the place here. And the minute we get used to them and we stop crunching them and maybe eating them, I'm not sure, and my cat stops chasing them along my building, we'll miss them. I think because they only come every 17 years. But for me, it's been quite the journey and a very, very unique spring and summer. Dennis Koulatsos is here. It's going to be even more unique when I'm up to my Woodrow's Barbecue logo in waders somewhere on the Savage River, throwing around, trying to hear Lefty Cray's voice in my ear. How's your fishing going, Dan? How's life, man?
Going great. Cicadas actually make a wonderful natural fishing bait, right? You can hook them right behind the head.
Hold on, have you done this? Around. This sounds like something
absolutely.
You did this week.
Oh, yeah. All kinds of fish love them. Bass love them. Perch love them. If it's in the water flapping around, something's going to come back and get them real quick. So fish absolutely love cicadas. It's the best natural bait. And right now, they're in abundance. You can go get a bucket of cicadas in a matter of minutes. Go down to your local watering hole, put a hook on them, throw in the water, and bang, you're going to catch some fish.
I learned stuff on this show, man. I mean, I've been gone a week, and I'm 5 minutes into doing this, and people are teaching me stuff here. I learned about tea berry ice cream last week. Wise Market's our sponsor. I had Hannah on, and we're talking about ice cream flavors, and I had never heard of tea berry. Apparently, it's like a Lancaster thing. So I'm trying new things. I haven't worked up to the cicada thing. I mean, I talked a good game. I had Schuler on. I'm going to talk to Schuler again this week, too. I said, we're going to put one of the chocolate or Old Bay or cinnamon vanilla or, chai, do something. Have you eaten a cicada yet or no?
I have never eaten a cicada, and I have zero interest.
No, you only get a chance every 17 years, though. So this is now or never.
If you go to Greece, you get one every year. They come out in Greece, where I grew up at on the farm. They come out every summer. They're about twice as big as the ones here, and they don't have red eyes and reddish wings. They have yellow, the yellowish tint to them, right? It's a big bug, and the noise they make in Greece is deafening compared to what they make over here.
Do people eat them in Greece?
No, they don't eat them. I used to play with them as a kid. I love cicadas. They're harmless. They don't bother you. They don't bite. And they make excellent fishing tackle, but they're not to be eaten. There's no substance.
I almost feel like I should go out and play with them.
They're great.
So here's my story with the cicadas. They start coming out 3 weeks ago. Everybody's putting pictures on Facebook, right, and Twitter. And I'm like, all right. I mean, I'll see them eventually. And then I had a status like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, has anybody heard them? And then I went to Hart Road. I hadn't been out to the station, and I was out there middle of the day, 10:30 in the morning. And it was this sound that I haven't heard in 17 years, right? Like kind of like hearing a song you haven't heard in 17. You're like, forgot about that song. I haven't heard that song, So then I went away. My wife and I went away for a week, come back, and we get home. They're all over the building downtown. My wife's like, they weren't all over the building 17 years ago. Like, what's going on? Why are there more of them? Do you agree there are more of them? I mean, there's something very weird nature thing. And it feels like they're here longer. It feels like they're not going anywhere for a week or two, right?
Yeah, they're much smaller. They make a lot of noise, but you're right. It seems like a lot more than we saw 17 years ago. They're swirling around your car on 695 or 95 on the back roads. They're everywhere. They're on the ground. I mean, their mortality rate's really high because everything hits them, right? They run into everything, and people are really freaked out about them. I have a lot of friends that are terrified of them, and to me, I love them. They're completely
Why would
harmless.
you be afraid of them?
I have no idea.
They're not like bees,
being afraid of an ant, right? You see a big ant crawling on you, just take them off, and chuck them.
They really are beautiful creatures, right?
They are.
I mean, I don't want to go on too much on the cicadas here, but we only get this every 17 years, and I've been on the radio 30 years, and again, 17 years ago, I remember being on the radio. I remember being out at Hart Road. I remember we had some, but I'm in the forest, and we didn't have a lot of them. And this year, it's like a whole different game, and I think it's impossible to be in Baltimore, Maryland right now in the first week of June in 2021 and not at least be responding to this in some sort of way, right?
Hey, grab a bucket of cicadas, grab a fishing rod and a hook them behind the head, throw them in the water. I don't care what kind of water, running water or still water, river or lake. You're going to catch fish because, anything that flaps on the top of that water like that, it's going to, catfish, perch, bass, largemouth, smallmouth, they're going to bite. shad, they're going to bite the cicada.
So
Rockfish, it
what you're
doesn't
telling
matter.
me is I have about 3 weeks to actually cicada fish now,
You
right?
can
Like I won't
cicada
have this
fish.
opportunity in August. In August, they'll be gone, right?
And it's cheap, free bait, right? If you have a fishing rod and a few hooks, that's all you need. You go out, catch the cicadas. They're very easy to catch. They're
You're going to put
everywhere,
Tony
right?
and D out of business down Tochterman's with the
No,
bloodworms.
no,
Come on.
they got to still sell fishing rods and line and hooks. Not everybody has them, right? So it's just a great, great way to go fishing. It's natural. You're repurposing the cicada, right? It's going to go in the belly of a fish that you're going to catch. Plus, it's a lot of fun. Take a kid
What have
fishing.
you been catching lately?
Bass, man, bass everywhere. Just big bass. Went on the Potomac with Ken Penrod, who's a legendary fishing expert, and I'm
I
telling
shared
you,
that picture 2 weeks ago.
oh
That's a
my
great
God,
picture.
yeah, thank you. So down in Virginia, there's all kind of great fishing holes. Up in Pennsylvania, I've been up and down the coast traveling, and on my days off to catch some fish and soak up the sun too. I got to get that, the free vitamin D, right?
Man, the fishing thing with you, I've just watched this happen, right? Like you and I have been doing radio together for, well, over a decade, I guess. And then
Yeah,
all of a sudden you just start fishing last year in the middle of the plague. And I guess some people did golf. I mean, I built a business, right? I mean, I moved my brain. That's what I did with my time. We all had this plague thing. Now, coming out of this, I'm starting to like want to beach again and want to do some things again.
yeah,
For me with the Orioles, like I came back after being gone for 5 days and the Orioles are playing and it's 90 degrees and cicadas are flying everywhere. And I got into it with Luke about going to a ball game and like maybe going down the Bowie and seeing Rutschman or seeing DL Hall, seeing Grayson Rodriguez. So I think I might do that. I might go to a baseball game this month, but I think I'm going to go to a minor league game. So I think that's going to be getting back on my horse. We had talked about concerts and I had Gene on from Merriweather Post and we told cicada stories 2 weeks ago. But like what's going on with you this summer that like you missed out on the plague? Because I've started to like eat a little bit inside and not be weirded out because I got 2 shots and
yeah.
not completely inside. I told you I had my problem a couple weeks ago out, going to a concert, but like for things that were taken away, is any of that coming back for you?
It is, and I'll tell you why. Because in my out-of-state travels the last couple of weeks, Nestor, both north and south of us, Pennsylvania and Virginia, I've noticed that no one's wearing a mask anymore. I mean, no one. You, every place I've been, the masks are like an afterthought. People, you might see them hanging up of somebody's rear visor, uh, on their dash, but people have unmasked very, very quickly. And like you, in big crowds, I'm not ready to do that. But in smaller gatherings where I can social distance, being vaccinated, I'm perfectly safe and happy to have the mask off my face. We're not built to have something covering our faces and our mouths, right? So as people, it's just great to see and getting back to normal by unmasking ourselves.
Well, and I'm very comfortable in elbow distance. I mean, I'm not up on people's faces and I don't
No.
want them on me, but that's kind of normal for me, right? Like when my wife got sick, I started fist bumping and
Oh
elbow
yeah.
bumping and taking on more of a Howie Mandel kind of a thing. And I'll tell you, Dan, that part of my life, and I'll speak candidly about that. I don't get sick much, right? I mean, I don't call out sick on the Dennis show on Thursdays, or I have no backup. I have no. I mean, I am my business, right? So not getting sick, I think there's a part of all of it for all of us to say, how close do we need to talk? Not that I'm loving Zoom. I mean, I'm working on Zoom all day, but I love the interconnectivity of sitting at a table, having a glass of wine, having a beer, chatting with people, being outside, being inside. But I don't. But close talking, that's going to become a taboo thing, I believe.
Yeah, perhaps, especially since some people they like to spit when they talk with it. That's just the way they are, right? So, yeah, the further back, the better. But it's just nice to get outdoors, watch or participate in outdoor events, right? And breathe in that fresh air. And we've had some good weather around here. We've had some hot and humid weather, so it's nice to get out there and take in a ball game. I've been watching some girls softball lately, which is a lot of fun. Watching it on TV and it's
See,
just
that's
nice
one
to
of
get
those
out.
things, like all of these sports like that. Like I saw Simone Biles doing things that only she does, right, over the
Yeah.
weekend. These sports kind of come, like my wife over the weekend, for some reason, just started watching sports. Like I looked over and she's watching the Islanders play the Bruins on her iPad. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, it's Trotz, good game, And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And then I look over 20 minutes later, and between periods, she's watching the Yankees and the Red Sox. And I haven't seen her watch a Red Sox game since before she was sick. in years and years and years, literally, right? And then Sunday night, I walk in, we're making dinner. She's got women's golf on.
Okay.
And like she was watching it, and she was like sudden death, and she was yelling at the TV. I mean, like at my back to her, she's like, oh, and I'm like, what? Ah, she missed the putt. I'm like, wow, my wife's like, so the sports thing is something that I think is there now for everyone, right? And I think a lot of people are clicking the dial and saying, what am I into? And you stop a women's softball, right?
Women's softball, we just saw a fantastic men's lacrosse final with Virginia and Maryland, 17-16. So, yeah, you're starting to see people gather. They're not as close as they used to be. The stadiums aren't at full capacity, but the crowd is certainly there. And you see the engagement between the crowd and the players, right? That's the back and forth that we miss.
Well, the Mickelson thing was unbelievable.
Yeah, the Mickelson thing was fantastic. Now you got the Shambo and Koepka, mini controversy, whatever. So you got the young lady, in tennis there who doesn't want to speak to the media anymore. There's a lot.
Yeah. I'm on the other side of that, bro. And it's not just because I'm a media member. It's more like you want to get paid, have some accountability. It's part of the job. Part of the job is marketing the efforts of the big picture of we're tennis and we need to be significant. We need to capture people's attention.
My comment to that, Nestor, is the players, right? All these professionals, they want the media there when they're hoisting the trophy, right? They want you there taking pictures and sticking the mic on their face. They don't want you there, though, at other times. They don't get to pick and choose that. It's a profession, right? So whether you win, lose, or draw, you have to be accountable, especially when you're making $55 million a year. You got to pay a price for success, right? That's part of it. And that's a price a lot of people will gladly pay.
The selfishness that plays into being a golfer or a tennis player, they're not team sports, right?
No.
And they're not designed to be team sports. And the accountability, for better or worse, when you're a tennis player is, I made that shot. I served that ace. I whiffed on that shot. I hit the ball into the net. I was long. I was short. I played a lot of tennis. So, and I love tennis. I mean, like of all the sports I would play, my wife and I were somewhere where a tennis ball was being hit and I heard the sound of it coming off. And I said to her, man, my knees feel good. Like I feel like I could go hit. And it's the first time I'm 52. I haven't felt like I could hit since I was in my 30s. As you know, Peter DeLutis hits, my son hits. I haven't hit a tennis ball with my son since I've known my wife, like 20 years. And so I get the psychology part of it, but I think there's a selfishness built into being young and being wealthy and being in an individual sport that it's just sort of like, here's my middle finger. I'll take my fine. What Bill Belichick's, I don't need to talk to you. I don't need anybody. I have a castle. It's built. I don't have to pay anything forward or leave anything. And, I think the Orioles are a great example of the falling of Rome and what it looks like when Greg Bader's been your PR director for 25 years and nobody says anything to anybody and it's only good news, and I think that's not good for women's tennis. If she's going to be the face of tennis the next 10 years and the next generation is going to come and say, we don't need anybody or anything. Well, the Virginia Slims people went away too. You know what I mean? Like there's a point where you have to understand what you're selling. And I didn't always have that in my business either, with people understanding what we're trying to do. You run a business and understand that as well. But I think in sports, the thing is so built in so many ways now for everyone that unless you're lacrosse and you're trying to build it,
right.
I don't know that we're getting a full effort anywhere. And I'll throw Owings Mills into that as well, because I'm not sure they're ever going to let us back in there.
Well, to your point, Nestor, it also slights the people that paid a much heavier price to get the sport to where it is. And I'm referencing Arthur Ashe. I'm referencing the Williams sisters, right? Venus
and Martina.
And Martina, right, there you go. I mean, all the stuff they had to go through to get the sport to its prominent level, to allow these young people to be able to
the autographs, all the smiles, all the hard press conferences, I got my ass kicked by Martina again, and my name is Chris Evert Lloyd, Chris Evert. I have to take sex, being young, on the field, off the field, being famous, all Jimmy Connors, they all had to deal with that.
They did. They did. They really did. And then they had a microphone stuck in their face. And
Billie
believe
Jean
me,
King was asked whether she liked men or women in 1960. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like Bobby Riggs, they did all of that. So this girl can make $50 million a year and she can't stand up and answer 5 questions. It's disgraceful. It makes me root against her, and it's unfortunate. I would just say it's very, very unfortunate that some of them don't have grown-ups around them to explain to them how the world works.
Well, when you are a great athlete, you've hit the genetic lottery, right? Let's just start right there. You didn't make yourself great. I mean, there's players who make themselves greater, and we're talking about Michael Jordan. He wasn't the biggest, strongest, fastest, but he had a phenomenal work ethic. But all these athletes have hit the genetic lottery. Understand it for what it is. Respect it for what it is. Respect the sport, its legacy, its history, its roots, and the reason why you're able to make what you make today. My good friend Al Bunbury laughs at the softness of the players these days. He says, Dennis, they're all soft, and he's right. They're very soft. Here's a guy who served 4 years in Nam, right, and then he went to play baseball and became a Baltimore Oriole Hall of Famer. So the guy went in the military for 4 years. He was overseas for 4 years, and he sees these players making these ginormous contracts, and they're getting rest days, and what do they call them? Load management days, and it's a load of crap. Is what it is.
Load management? Well, explain that to me. That's
oh
a new
my
term.
God! There's NBA players that they take nights off because they're managing their load. Right. It's hysterical.
I just made a funny face. I'm like,
so here you
what?
are, a kid, right? Here you are, a 16-year-old kid, and you want to see Kawhi Leonard play the Wizards, on a Friday night, and you go
and you
there,
paid good American money.
Paid great American money, and guess who doesn't show up? And back when Jordan played, the reason why you went to watch the Bullets because Jordan and the Bulls were coming to town.
I can't imagine my pop takes me down to the Capitol Center to see Kareem and Magic, and they decide to take the night off.
But that's what's happening.
And Worthy's ankle's no good, so he's not there either, right? And they're just going to let the Bullets beat them 121-88 because they're going to sleepwalk because the game was at 4 PM in L.A. and it was only a Tuesday. And, they're already 53-21, so what do they got to worry about, right?
And Kobe Bryant, he was asked years ago by one of his daughters, Dad, why don't you take a night off? Because he said there's a kid saving money to come down to the Staples Center to watch me play ball no matter how I feel. And that kid, I owe it to that kid to show up. And that
Bruce Springsteen bringing 4 hours every night on stage, right?
Okay, I mean, can you imagine Bruce is going to rest his voice tonight. Bruce is going to have somebody else, a backup singer, do his songs, his set, because load management. He's hired. He doesn't feel good. Right? He doesn't feel like doing a show tonight, Nestor. But that's where we are today. And that's why it's so hard to support a lot of these sports that support this type of behavior.
I show up every day. Dennis shows up over Coons Ford every day. We're not mailing it in here at WNST in Baltimore. Never. Positive. Tell me what's going on out there. Summertime. I hear of this car shortage. You know what I mean? Like people are Googling their cars and they're like blue booking. They're like, my car's worth twice what I owe. You got to be kidding me, right?
Yeah, that's accurate. Okay, there's a scarcity in the business. It's a very real thing, and I just got off of a call with our Ford people, and I'm telling them I need more vehicles. I can't sell what I don't have, so I'm begging them to open up the supply chain and get vehicles to our store as quickly as possible. But it's going to be a while. We're looking at maybe the fourth quarter of this year or the first quarter of next year before we have any type of substantial inventory because of the chip shortage, because of everything that's happened to get us to this point. And that's not exclusive to Ford. This is every manufacturer is close to running out of new vehicles, Nestor.
Dennis, I know you'll be here on Thursday. I know you'll be here over the weekend. I know you'll be somewhere in a pond in waders, casting for the next bass. But
no load management here. That doesn't even know what that means.
Full effort, man. You got to go full effort, you and me, man. We'll see you on Thursday. It's always good catching up with you. I enjoyed that load management. You got me researching now. I'm Googling things.
Oh, you'll be amazed and disgusted at the same time, because in the era that we grew up in, that is unheard of. And our parents, even more so. But I can just see my dad, God rest his soul, rolling over in his grave. Guy never missed a day of work, worked 2 jobs, and never took a day off. Never.
My dad worked at the Point, right? And my dad had a word for it. And it's maybe East Baltimore thing. Somebody'd say, my dad said he never scratched.
Never scratch.
Scratched would mean
Never scratch, man.
never scratched, you know?
I get it. We get what that means, right? Your dad, like my dad, wasn't soft. Okay, you can call him other things, but soft was not one of them.
But I appreciate that about my dad, man.
Absolutely.
We'll go hoist one at the Chaucer in
Hey,
Highlandtown to honor them all, man.
Who do you think you got your work ethic from? Dad.
It's a good point. I guess. Mom worked hard though too, but in different ways.
It's what you see as a male. It's what you see your father do every day. When he gets up and goes to work, it gets imprinted in your brain. If you told me that in high school that as lazy as I was when it came to certain things, that I would have the work ethic of my father, I would laugh at you. I'm worse actually. So.
You know, I got this funny story because the kid that saved my wife's life, he's not a kid anymore. He's 27, right? He's German. And when I met him, there's a translation issue and his English is almost impeccable, like literally almost impeccable, better than any of the kids I grew up with in Dundalk. His English, his German kid. So when I met him, we're drinking and we're at the soccer game. I'll never forget this. We're at the soccer game that we picked him up. We had a little dinner. We had driven out to the soccer game. The German team was playing Finland in a friendly. And it was Schweinsteiger's last game ever that we witnessed. And we're there. I'm having a beer and a sausage with this kid that saved my wife's life. And I was telling him stories, and I'm trying to figure out how good his English is. And I said to him, he wanted to know why the doctor picked him. And I said to him, the doctor said you were a motivated donor. He said, motivated? You must tell my mother. My mother says I'm never motivated.
That's a great story. I
thought you'd love that, man. Yeah, Dennis Koulatsos, he's here on Thursdays as well as Sunday morning with the Dennis Koulatsos Show. It's from 3 to 5, and you can always find him out of Coons Ford, and his commercials run regularly. If you're in the market for a new, pre-loved, pre-owned, or some service, give Dennis a call over there at Coons Ford. Then we'll see you on Thursday, all right?
Thanks so much, Nestor.
You got it. We are WNST.net, AM 1570. We are putting together the Crab Cake Tour in August. We are getting together with Mayor Brandon Scott later this week with his favorite crab cake at Coco's. I got Marcella working on that on the east side where Sig's going to walk down the hill. We're going to have a Montebello hootenanny over at Coco's for the weeks over here. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and we never stop talking local stuff and fish and crab cakes and stuff.